to really build that resiliency. So we're going to take a little look today and also create some of those SMART goals. I'm going to go over the parameters of what SMART goals are, and what to be expected. But ideally, what I want you to do is think about all the different topics that we've covered in mindfulness, whether it be gratitude, whether it be deep breathing and meditation, or body scan, or mindful movements, or mindful eating, or et cetera, any of those topics, and pick at least one or two that you think will be most applicable to your life and to your lifestyle, and what you can kind of reap the most benefits from. And that's what we're going to center our SMART goals around. Um, and so when we look at today's class, we're really going to gain a better understanding of that term resiliency. And I know we talked about it, and we've been talking about it throughout the program, but we're really going to take a deep dive into that term, get a better understanding of what it means. You're going to hear firsthand, or I should say, an account of someone that I consider to be a resilient person. We're going to try to, think about those mindfulness strategies that we talked about and how we can use those to build our resilience. And remember, as we're going through this is going to be a tool for you to use to build SMART goals. So you can practice this mindfulness and measure yourself in mindfulness as we go on and continue past this program. And then we're going to talk about some of the programs that are available to you as well. So please make sure to think about all the different programs that we have available, and the different resources that are available to you so you can utilize them and help you in your mindful journey. So as a reminder, what is resiliency? Well, the American Psychological Association that defines resiliency as the process of adapting well in the face of adversity, trauma, tragedy, threats, or significant sources of stress. So remember, our stressors can be internal or external. And the thing to remember about resiliency, and especially resilient people, when you hear people talk about, oh, that person's resilient, or look at them, they're so successful and everything, that you may think that they may have not faced those stress or those threats or those sources of trauma in their life. But resilient people face those same type of stressors. They face tragedy, they face trauma. What they've learned to do is adapt in the face of that stressors or those roadblocks in their lives, and really build and look at it in a positive way, even in tough times. And so that really turns my attention to the person I want to tell you about today that you may have heard about already. And that is someone named James Blake. And James Blake, for those of you that do not know who that is, he was an American tennis player. And so he was really a player that began his career in the early 2000s out of Harvard University. And there was a lot of buzz going around about him, about being the next American great to really play the game. He was smart, he was fast, he was determined, and the players that he played with on tour, so his fellow tour mates, called him one of the hardest workers on tour. Like, he would never not give his 100%. He's always going full speed no matter what. And so it all seemed to be trending in the right direction for James Blake until around June 2003, when he got news that his father and his who he considered, his lifelong best friend, his coach, his mentor, he found out that he was diagnosed with stomach cancer. Okay. And so James took this news pretty hard. He didn't get the news right away. His father, James, was on tour in a big tournament, and his father didn't want to disrupt him. Didn't want to cause any undue stress to James. So he waited a little while to tell James, and he hid it from his family. But when James eventually found out, his dad was only given 1 to 2 years to live. Now, this is his lifelong friend, his coach, his mentor, his father. So this was traumatizing news to James. But one of the wishes of his father was to continue on this tour. He said, "Son, this is your dream. This is what I want you to do. You've worked so hard for this. It would make me happier if you continued to pursue that dream." So James did. Reluctantly, he continued on tour. And in May 2004, he was practicing for a tournament in Rome, Italy. And he was practicing with his practice partner. Now, remember, this is practice, and it was a rainy day. And James Blake chased down a ball at the net and slipped. Okay. So he slipped on that clay court, and he went headfirst into that metal net stanchion that holds the net up, broke his neck. So he laid on the ground for 30 minutes until an ambulance got there to take him to the hospital. It was practice. Remember, this is practice, and he is still going full speed, something his practice partner later tells in interviews. But it's something he always does. He'd expect nothing less for James, always going full speed. Now, he was diagnosed with that broken neck, and he was also told while he was in the hospital that he has scoliosis. Now, he was told about a curvature in his spine when he was age 13, but he opted for bracing his back for 18 hours each day for 4 years instead of surgery that would put a metal rod in his spine, because tennis was always his dream. And he knew with that metal rod, he probably would not be able to compete at the highest levels. But he fought at the hospital, because remember, he's over in Italy and he's an American. So he was fought tooth and nail to just be able to go back home and be with his family, to recover there. And eventually they allowed him to return to America to recover at home with his family. Now, unfortunately, during this time, his father's condition was worsening. He was slipping in and out of consciousness, but he told James that, I want you to play in this comeback tournament. You've been working hard. You've been doing everything right to really get back to it. And I want you to play in this comeback tournament. Do not stop playing because of me. So reluctantly, on July 2nd, he left to play in his first tournament back since his injury. On July 3rd, the very next day, he lost his father to cancer. His father passed away. James Blake won that match that day, but he returned home after that. And after his father's funeral, Blake really felt guilty about going on the road, competing in tennis, while his father was suffering and his mom was left home alone. But he decided, you know what, after a while, he recovered. His mom wanted him to get him back out there, so he went back out and played. But something just didn't seem right. When he returned to practice, he didn't feel like his body was operating at the optimal level. His ear and his head started to hurt. Now, he went to a doctor for what he thought was an ear infection, but the pain worsened over the next few days. And he woke up with a rash covering the entire left side of his head and his face. He couldn't move his mouth on the left side, and he was unable to swallow, and his eye wouldn't blink. And what they found out was that he was diagnosed with shingles, and that left one side of his face paralyzed and his vision blurred. He was so stressed out. He was putting so much pressure on himself, and the stress and all this guilt and this emotional baggage that he had, that he caused himself shingles, and it caused so much damage to him. But that still didn't stop him. He turned his adversity into triumph, and he fought back. He worked on the stressors in his life, and he won the Comeback Player of the Year award in 2005. In addition to that, he started numerous charities and charitable events, including funding cancer research and medical research, and a foundation named in the honor of his father. And so in 2008, he won the Arthur Ashe Humanitarian of the Year award. Now, he never reached that full potential that people thought he could because of all the injuries that he had in his life. But when they asked James about these injuries and about, the injuries that he sustained, this was his response. He said, the whole thing made me appreciate everything more. I get up in the morning and I look out and I can smile and I see it as a nice day. I don't take that for granted anymore. I get less angry after a loss and appreciate my good fortune more. This guy who lost his mentor and his best friend and his father, who broke his neck competing in a professional sport, who got shingles and left one side of his face paralyzed for some time, he considered himself lucky. He appreciated that fact because he really took the time to appreciate the little things in life and really work on himself and his stressors. And so he went on to say, the luckiest thing to happen to me was breaking my neck. And if I had to do it all over again, I wouldn't be upset at all about it. Now, I don't know how many of us have broken a bone in our bodies, but I can tell you, I've never thought that's the luckiest thing to happen to me. But he turned something that was so traumatic and so brutal, and he really looked at the grand picture. He got to spend time with his family. He got to work on his stress and his health in his own life. So what you really saw is he turned something terrible, something traumatic in his life, and turned it around for something more positive. So that turns us to our goal setting when we talk about resiliency and building off of some of those mindfulness techniques that we talked about. And I'd be remiss if I didn't say that Dr. Cheshire, who will be joining us a little bit later to talk about some of the resources that are available to you at the Champ Center and what the Champ Center is all about, he helped provide some of the content for the upcoming slides. So when we talk about setting our goals or setting SMART goals, remember we want our goals to be reachable, because if they're not worth making. If you recall, a major source of a lot of our internal stress is setting unattainable goals, either for ourselves or for others. So when we talk about goals and goal settings and what we want to do with our mindfulness strategies that we learn, remember that they have to be reachable. Don't set those unrealistic goals that we won't be able to accomplish. So that's the first step. So when we talk about our parameters for setting SMART goals, the first one is to be specific. So that's the essence SMART. So what goals do you really want to accomplish? All right. And you want to be specific. So instead of saying, I want to lose weight, not very specific. Technically, 0.1 pounds is losing weight, and by when? So instead, you would say, I want to lose 10 pounds by December 1st. So you're setting a specific goal by a specific time that you're able to measure, remember? And that's the M in SMART goals, is measurable. So all goals should have a way that we can evaluate them. So if we can't evaluate them, you'll never know if you reach those goals. So you can say, I want to run the Gate River Run faster, which isn't really specific or measurable. It's measurable to an extent, but instead a better goal would be, I want to improve my mile time by 30 seconds. So if we applied, let's say, meditation to this, well, let's say I want to meditate more. Well, that's not really a measurable goal or specific. So instead, you may want to say, I want to meditate at least once a day for 5 minutes. All right. That is measurable, it's specific, and it's more than what you're doing currently. So that's an attainable goal for you. And of course, the A is attainable. So they must be capable of reaching. So I don't know how many of us are football fans or Jacksonville Jaguar fans, but which one of these do you think is more attainable? The Jags? If any of us have watched the Jaguars this year, I don't think any of us are convinced they're going to win the Super Bowl this season. So that won't really be an attainable goal for them. Now, if you said the Jags will have at least 5 wins, that's possible. That's attainable for them. They could go 5-11 and get those 5 wins. Now, some people may say that's still not attainable or unattainable, but that is more attainable than them saying they're going to win the Super Bowl this year. So remember, you don't want to cause yourselves undue stress. So pick some goals. When you're setting these goals, make sure you're following these SMART goal guidelines. Also, make sure that it's relevant. And this is, to me, one of the most important aspects of our SMART goals. What is most important to you in your lifestyle? Which mindfulness technique is going to benefit you the most? Is it the deep breathing and meditation? Is it mindful eating? Is it expressing gratitude? All these different topics that we've talked about, which one is going to provide the most influence and most benefits in your life? So which goal is better for a nurse? Would it be, my goal is to climb Mount Everest? Or is it, my goal is to treat all my patients as if they were a member of my own family? Now, that doesn't mean that a nurse can't set a goal to climb Mount Everest, right? If that's something they're really training towards, but that wouldn't be necessarily relevant to their position, right? Or their goal in their day-to-day life. So what is most relevant to you, and what will have the most impact on your health and well-being? So when we think about setting some of these SMART goals for ourselves, make sure that they're relevant as well. And lastly, make sure that they're time bound. Make sure that you have a set deadline so your goal is not unending. And so an example here is, my goal is to publish a research article. Okay, again, that's great that you want to do that. There's no deadline for that. I always use this example for myself. My goal is to become fluent in multiple languages. I never set a deadline for that. And here I am years later, and I'm still not fluent in any languages. Had I put a deadline on that and started to plan and really implement the strategy to achieve that by a certain time, you're more likely to continue with it, and you're less likely to procrastinate. You're less likely to make excuses or really rationalize for why you can put it on the back burner. So make sure our goals are time bound as well. And so when we talk about setting SMART goals and sticking to them and not really getting bogged down in these roadblocks and preventing us from accomplishing our goals, we really need to monitor our self-talk and relax. Remember, our significant sources of our internal stress come from ourselves, our own emotions, our own thought processes, things that we control, things that we have the power to control. So what I mean by monitoring self-talk and relax is, start using assertive doing words. So instead of saying, I hope to, I'll try, I wish I could, I might, instead start saying, I'm going to, I will, I want to, I can. Start changing the way we think and the way we talk to ourselves. And the reason for that is if we say, I don't want to get fat, I hope I don't mess this up, I must not fail this test. Those negative connotations, what our brain actually grabs from that, what it hears is fat, mess this up, fail. So again, these are our own thoughts that we are controlling. When we have those negative connotations, our brain grabs that as the take home message. Whereas instead, if we said, I'm going to get slim and healthy, I want to do a good job, I'm going to pass this test. What our brain takes home from that is slim and healthy, good job, pass this test. So again, changing the way our thoughts are structured instead of making them so negative. Remember, we tend to ruminate in our negative thought processes. And we seem to think that when we get in those negative thoughts, we just can't ever get out. It's just unending and it's never going to end. But we have the power to control some of our thoughts and the way we talk to ourselves, especially when we're setting these SMART goals. We got to have the confidence that we can accomplish these goals. And so Dr. Albert Ellis, he's an American psychologist, came up with some of what he called a rational belief. So he said that a large number of our psychological problems are due to patterns of a rational thought. So he focuses his theory on the idea that people are not changed by facts, but by what they think about the facts. So therefore, if we're able to change some of the way we think about things or our patterns of thinking, we'll be capable of creating emotional states that are less painful, more positive, and more consistent with reality. So some of those irrational beliefs, and you've heard me mention some of these as we've gone throughout this course, is everyone must love me, or if I'm not perfect, I'm worthless, right? This a goal that we think we always have to be perfect, or everyone must love us. And if they don't, or if we don't feel perfect, why is that? We run these thoughts throughout our heads thinking that everyone must be in love with us. I have to be perfect, or other people have to do everything the way I want them to do it. And that just causes us stress. It's more detrimental to our own health having those irrational beliefs. Or it is awful when things go wrong. Remember, I said we tend to stew in those negative emotions and ruminate over things in the past, or be anxious about what is the worst possible scenario that could happen in the future. But what we really need to be doing is savoring those positive moments, savoring those good moments in our lives, and really thinking about how we can prolong those periods of happiness for ourselves. Remember, savoring is taking a step outside and really fully emotionally focusing on the moment and for all it is, and sharing it with another person. Remember, having that support system truly does help. You can go through the list of all his irrational beliefs, but the idea here, the take home message is if we can change our patterns of thinking to more positive or less worst case scenario, then we're more consistent with reality, we're more positive, and our emotions are a little less painful. So be good to yourself too. I always say this: take time each day out of the day for something just for you. Remember, doing something fun that is just for you, something you like and you enjoy doing. You should always have a little bit of time set aside in each day to do something for you. Stay healthy, go for a walk, exercise, eat well, stay hydrated. All those components fit into mindfulness and everything we've discussed in this course. And connecting with others, having that social support, whether it's coworkers, friends, family, loved ones, whomever it may be, connect with others. Remember that gratitude journal I've had you keep and that letter of gratitude you wrote. If anyone's written that letter of gratitude, I'm sure that's only built that support system even stronger, right? You share a letter of gratitude with someone else, especially spontaneously when it's unprovoked, that you are able to savor a moment and an experience with someone that can be truly inspirational, and enjoy life. Take pleasure in being part of your solution, especially your own solution. Remember, you have the power to control your emotions and your thoughts. So that's what mindfulness is all about. Really, remember, not becoming overly reactive or over emotional when we're taking everything in and we're immersed in the present moment. So what I want you to do, and you can do this after the class or as we go throughout, create your own SMART goal. So remember that it needs be specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time bound. And we're here to help. So if I put the wellness general inbox, if you have someone in particular you want to speak with in wellness, or if you want to speak directly to me, feel free to reach out to me. That's my personal email at the bottom. Doesn't matter if you're Gainesville, Jacksonville, for my personal email. If you have any questions or you just want to share things that you've been doing in mindfulness, or you have any questions in general, as it could be months down the line, feel free to email me. I love hearing about it. I love talking with you all, and I'd be more than happy to help in any way I can. Also, we have a ton of mental health resources available to you. Um, and I do want to share this quote from William James. Remember, we have the power of our emotions and our thoughts. And he said the greatest weapon against stress is our ability to choose one thought over another. I mean, that's powerful. The greatest weapon against stress is our ability to choose one thought over another. So we have guidance resources. There's our EAP here in Jacksonville, the numbers on the screen. Also Talkspace for both Gainesville and Jacksonville. If you have Gator Care, Talkspace is an online therapy that you can use. There's peer support groups. But the one I really want to focus on is our Champ Center here that's located in the Jacksonville Wellness Office too, in the same building. Champ does a wonderful job with our Jacksonville employees. So if you are a Jacksonville employee, this is a service that is for you. It's confidential. Nothing goes back to your employers or to any of your coworkers or anything. It's just between you and your counselor. So I'm actually going to turn it over because we are lucky to be joined by Dr. Cheshire, who is the director over the Champ Center and can tell you a little bit more about the resources that they have. So Dr. Cheshire, if you're there, go ahead and take over.
Thanks, Nick, and excellent presentation. Hey, everybody, my name is Dave Cheshire, and I'm a psychologist here at Jacksonville. And I'm also the director of the CHAMP program, the Center for Healthy Minds and Practice. And as Nick was just talking about, CHAMP Center offers free, unlimited, confidential mental health counseling and coaching to all of our employees. And we also provide the same service to couples, as long as one member of that couple is an employee here in Jacksonville. And so basically what we strive to do is we strive to make you the best that you can be, so that when you're out doing your job or when you're going home, that you can be happy, taking joy in life, not burdened by undue stress, especially in a time like this with the pandemic and COVID. And so what we're seeing is a lot of people are just experiencing a lot of emotional exhaustion these days, a lot of anxiety, a lot of stress, a lot of sadness over things that we've missed out on over the past 2 years. A lot of birthdays, a lot of holidays, a lot of events that we wanted to attend in person, we just couldn't do. And so if you need somebody to talk with, you want somebody to basically help you work through some of that stuff, it's myself and 2 behavior therapists here that provide that counseling service. We also have another counselor who's been helping us out currently. That's Felicia Brinkley. As an unlicensed professional, we also have the peer support groups through us that basically, if you just don't want formal counseling, but you want somebody that you can just talk to, chew the fat with, and somebody who'll kind of give you the space to be able to just talk, you contact the Champ Center and we'll get you set up with a peer supporter too. And one last thing I want to say about the Champ Center is we don't use Epic. We don't put notes in your chart. It is 100% confidential. No one's going to be reading anything about what we talk about, or even that you came out to see us. We keep our notes on a separate server, and we keep a hard copy for our own records here in a locked filing cabinet. One resource that's not on this list that I also want to mention is our coaching center over in HR. We have a couple of professional coaches that say you don't want to strike out just to talk to a mental health counselor, and you'd rather just have somebody to talk about writing resumes or how to really succeed in the organization. We have the Champ Center that has been rolled out over the past year. I'm sorry, not the Champ, the Coaching Center has been rolled out, and a couple of really good coaches here. If you want more information out of them, give me a call over here at the Champ Center or send us an email. Our numbers are on the screen, 244-8332. Our email address is just champ@jax.ufl.edu. And basically, whatever your needs are, if we can provide them, great. If not, we'll find a way to get you in the hands of the people who can. Thank you so much, Nick, for giving me the opportunity to say hey to everybody. Hope everyone's doing well. Take care out there.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Cheshire. And just to echo everything he said, I will also add 2 cents in. They are awesome at everything they do. Highly, highly, highly suggest them. using them. Like I said, you can find one that works for you, but being able to work with them and get to know them over the last couple of years has been truly a blessing in my life. So please definitely utilize these resources that are free to you. And obviously they're on site here in on the Jacksonville campus. So that is even add the convenient factor for that as well. So thank you again, Dr. Cheshire. And then lastly, remember that we do have these mindfulness cards that are available to you for free. If you're on the Jacksonville campus and you would like to come by and pick some up, you don't have to, do anything. You're not going to ask to do any other activity. You can just pick them up and they're free for you to keep. I've been sharing at least one with you each day, but there's like 50 or 60 different ones that are there that you can use and utilize. And I think they're very beneficial, give you different practices. But remember, I talked about really taking time out of the day just for you. So I know our days are filled with responsibilities and tasks, and it's common to feel that we just don't have enough time for ourselves and in our overscheduled lives. So you can cultivate me time by establishing mindfulness in your body through steady awareness of your breath or your posture. So this gives you the superpower of making all time your time. No matter what you're dealing with or what you're doing, if you're able to stay connected to some aspect of your physical experience, you can be present around the clock. Remember, mindfulness can be practiced even sending an email, right? Just taking that time, noticing your breath. Are your breaths coming from the short chest breaths that just, your stress breaths? Are you taking time just to really compose yourself after each little bit and take a nice deep breath? Just doing little things like that can build on that you time that you need throughout your day. So don't forget, remember to keep up with the gratitude journal if you can, even throughout this. I do think even the research and science behind it shows how useful it can be. Remember to develop SMART goals for yourself. I'm here to help as well as the rest of the wellness office. If you need any assistance setting those SMART goals or need any advice, we'd be happy to help. Be mindful throughout each day, engage in those conversations. What are your five senses telling you? Remember to listen to understand, not always just to reply. Remember that you're going to complete your post-class assessment and your post-program survey. So the post-program survey is anonymous. I'll have a link on the next couple slides where you can complete both of those. We'll also send out a copy of this presentation as well with those links, so you can wait until that comes out if you'd like. And utilize those resources that are available to you. Dr. Cheshire did a great job talking about the CHAMP Center. If you're in Gainesville, you have a lot of EAP resources, including that talk space that we talked about. So utilize those free resources that are available to you. So just one quick reminder of the program requirements. Remember that you complete that post-program survey. If you completed the pre one, you're obviously in this class, but remember to complete each post-class assessment. So there should be 4 of those. Remember, you have to complete each one to get credit for each class. That's basically serves as your attendance. You either attend each class live or you watch them on demand, and you keep and update that daily gratitude journal, which you can hold on to for yourself. You're not going to be asked to turn those in at all. And so finally, on the left-hand side of your screen is the assessment. This is going to be your attendance tool. It'll be just a quick assessment of what we talked about today. You can fill that out. And on the right-hand side is the anonymous post-program survey, if you don't mind filling that out for us, so we can try to improve the program and get feedback if you all thought it was useful. If you thought it was beneficial, we'd love to hear it. Or if you think there's any way we can improve, we'd love to hear that too. But I thank you all for joining for this 4 weeks, and I hope you enjoy this mindfulness journey. And like I said, I wish we could do it weekly, and I would definitely be up for that. So thank you all, and I'll hang around if there are any questions, but thank you again. I hope you have a great rest of your week.